everyone. Good to see all of you. Thank you for having me, Victor, Joel, and Benjamin, and all of you for giving me a platform to just sort of engage with all of you. I generally am very passionate about young people. I believe young people are important. They are valuable, right? Your lives all have meaning, and you all have a purpose. And in any way that I can, given the capacity and the things that I have, where I can actually come alongside all of you, this is a great opportunity for me. So thank you for having me and for being willing to hear some of what I'm going to share today. So as I get prepared to share my screen, I'll just kind of run through what is it that we're going to be talking about today. Saya akan membentangkan sedikit tentang subjek Rewired ataupun bagaimanakah kita boleh mengubah cara kita memikirkan tentang sesuatu masalah supaya kita boleh mengatasi masalah itu dengan baik. So how can we actually rewire ourselves, right? How do we get unstuck from situations that we often get stuck in? I don't know about you, but myself often find myself getting stuck in different situations. Whether it's at home or at work or with my colleagues or masa-masa kat sekolah dulu pun ada masalah-masalah tersendiri. So bagaimanakah kita sebagai pemimpin ataupun sebagai anak muda boleh mendapatkan ilham supaya kita boleh mengatasi masalah-masalah tersebut. So let me just share my screen and my slides. Okay, right. So once again, today's topic is on getting rewired, the art of getting unstuck. But before we get started, I think it's important just to kind of lay down some ground rules. I know Joel had already given us some of the ground rules specific to the whole session or just our club online in general. But I think for this session itself, for today, right, as we go through how to get unstuck, there's some rules of engagement that I would just like to go through so that we all have a common understanding ataupun pemahaman yang selari tentang apakah ekspektasi saya dan juga sessions kita pada hari ini, right? So number one is to be present, and to be present is really to show up, right? So you're here today, you're right now at 9:07 in this platform. So the idea is to be present and to absorb as much as you can, participate as much as you can, internalize as much as you can, so that you actually benefit maximally dengan keseluruhan kamu boleh benefit ataupun mendapat apa saja yang kamu dapat daripada hari ini dengan sempurna, right? So that's to be present, to show up. Number two is to be courageous. To be courageous tu jadi seorang yang tabah, seorang yang boleh mengambil langkah untuk membina diri sendiri. That means step into discomfort, right? Even though the topic might be uncomfortable, there might be options here for you to voice out your thoughts or to participate in a game. Just go ahead and feel free to just be yourself and be courageous and step into the learning opportunity that's given for all of us here today. Number three is to be respectful of other people's view. Everybody has a point of view and have their own experiences. So let's be respectful of one another. All of us are important, valuable, lives have meaning and purpose. So let's respect that and do things well together. Next is to always share your point of view from a first person perspective. Maksudnya bila kamu cakap tentang diri kamu sendiri, make sure you talk about yourself. Bukan kawan saya macam ni, orang tu macam tu. Saya macam mana? Apakah pandangan saya? So always look at yourself and share a story or be authentic in that sense, to share from your point of view instead of pointing the fingers elsewhere. Right. Second last is don't interrupt when someone is speaking, and let's just wait for that person to be done, which is all common rules, I'm sure, with webinars and online and all that kind of stuff. All of us are quite familiar. And lastly, stay encouraged, right? No one person has arrived to the destination. No one person is an expert. Tak ada orang dalam platform ni lah, right? Yang saya pun bukannya dah tahu semua jawapan tentang cara-cara nak menjadi seorang yang unstuck ataupun rewired. Apa yang saya dah belajar dalam hidup saya yang singkat ni, saya nak berikan supaya kita semua pun boleh belajar bersama-sama dan mengaplikasikan dia punya points yang kita akan dapat daripada hari ini. Alright, so those are the rules of engagement. But before we get started in the session itself, let's play a little bit of a game, right? And this game is called WORDLES. What you're going to see on your screen is some words. Alright, and you have to guess, kamu kena teka kamu akan dapat ayat-ayat yang akan tertera dalam skrin kamu sekarang sekejap lagi. kamu kena teka apakah what is the phrase that comes out from the words that you see. So the words that you see actually can represent a phrase, it can represent a thing, it can be an instrument, it can be anything that makes sense lah. So your job, right, is to look at the words that are on your screen that's coming up and kind of guess what is the meaning, create some meaning out of it. And then I think the best way to do this, Joel, you can advise me. I don't know, should they raise up their hand and speak the answer or type it in the chat? What is the best way, Joel?
I think probably some would prefer to type, so I think we can let them type.
Okay.
But if there's some who would like to unmute, I think you can call up the names as they raise up their hand.
Okay, awesome. Hi, Farzad. Good to see you, man. All right, fantastic. All right, so let's go with the first one. For example, right? For example, so you see this word, the snow, wind, rain, and then underneath there is feeling. So what is the ayat that actually goes with this? It's a phrase, right? So I'll give you a hint, right? You see the feeling is actually under something, right? It's under snow, it's under wind, it's under rain. So what is it trying to say?
Aiden says wind. Taiwan says cold.
Okay.
I have no idea. I personally don't have idea.
Okay, so one more time, I give you a hint. The feeling is under three different type of weather systems, right?
Claire says under the ice. Maddie is raising her hand.
Okay, Mary, you want to give it a shot via the mic?
Hi, can I try?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it under the weather?
What under the weather? Almost there. You're almost there. You got it right. Almost there. Yes, feeling under the weather.
Wow.
Right? So you see feeling, and these are all different weathers. So they're feeling under the weather. So that's one example, right, of how we're going to play this game. All right, so the next one. What is this? G-E-G-G-G-E, G-E-G-G-G-E. Apa ini?
Guprit.
No lah. Why I put my name there for what? What is this? G-E-G-G-G-E.
Gig. So sorry, guys.
So
you guys
think
should
of a
play
term.
better.
Okay, bangun pagi but masak apa? What do you have for breakfast usually?
Aiden says 7G4E. Victor says I know, but cannot answer. MJ says egg.
Egg. Okay, what kind of egg is this? Correct.
Oh,
very good.
I also know already. I got it.
What kind of egg is this? Very close. Boiled
Claire
egg.
says boiled egg.
Scrambled egg. All right.
Wow.
Fantastic.
I got it a second. What, second time again?
Yeah, fantastic, right? You got scrambled egg. Why? Because the words are all scrambled and it's all egg essentially, right? So you got scrambled egg. Fantastic. Well done. Next one. What is this? Okay, I'll give you a hint. I give you a hint. It's a character.
Okay,
in a movie.
Amanda raised her hand.
Okay, Amanda. Go ahead.
Would you unmute, Amanda?
Sorry, I accidentally raised my hand.
Okay.
But I think Vaneswari got it. Robin Hood is correct.
How is that Robin Hood?
Yes. Why is that Robin Hood, Vaneswari? Or Claire?
Okay, we'll wait for them to type. No I. Exactly, no I. Horror boat. Spelling is Robin.
The spelling is definitely wrong lah. It's not Robin Hood in terms of spelling. But if you look at the words, right, you see Rob.
Oh my gosh.
It's actually in between Hood, right? So you see Rob in between. Correct. Victor is correct. Rob in between Hood, right? So Rob in Hood. So what is this? Right. Everybody nowadays want to fight for this lah. What is that?
Fazal says left. Left.
Upside
Taiwan
down.
says upside down.
What is right? I give you a hint. People generally want to fight for this because it's very important to have.
Very important to have.
Yeah.
Money? No. Haran says money.
Women are always right.
I can't argue
funny,
that.
Right hand, rights. Okay, rights is close. Amanda, rights. What kind of
Aiden says-
rights? Both
Aiden
of
says
them are the same,
direction.
right? So what does that mean?
Right.
Human rights, close, but some kind of rights.
Moses?
My initial guess was human rights.
Yeah. Not quite, but you're almost there, right? The fact that there are two rights and they are equal, what does that mean? You're almost there.
Equality.
Oh, close. What is it? You put the word rights there.
Copyright.
Copyright. Yeah, true. So I guess the words are copied, right? Yeah, copyright.
Amanda
also
says
can.
equal rights.
Equal rights. That's right. Equal rights, right? Because both of them are
Wow.
equal and they're right. Fantastic. Well done, everybody. Good. I love the fact that you guys are trying, participating, finding ways to interact. These are all good things. They build relationships and they give us the platform or the opportunity to really learn, right? When we interact. What is this? This one is kind of similar to one that you did earlier.
Oh, okay, I got it. Wow.
All right, for instance, that's right, correct, right? You see the for is in between the stance. So for instance, okay, we do just a couple more. What is this? You got three histories here. It's a phrase that people commonly say.
History?
But you got three. Repeated history. Okay, yeah, correct. History repeats itself. There you go.
Wow.
Well done, right? So repeated history repeat, right? History repeats itself. That's fantastic, right? You see that history repeating itself 3 times. So what about this?
Netflix.
What does this mean? It's a phrase that parents will usually say lah. Every now and then when they see you're always watching TV every day.
Oh, Elisha saying she can see the screen. Okay, how do I write this down?
Okay.
Don't sit too close to the TV.
Okay, okay. What is sitting on top of the word TV? TV not good. Yeah, don't sit too close to the TV. Watching
Not
TV,
good for the eyes.
too bad it's not good for the eyes. Something my mom don't let me watch. All right, so I'll give you guys this one. It's a bit difficult, I suppose. This one is saying nothing good on TV. So you see that not good, right? It's actually on the TV. The word TV. So basically it's saying nothing good on TV, right? So generally, I don't know about you, but when I was younger and my mom was trying to tell me to stop watching TV, say, there's nothing good on TV. So don't waste your time. Go study or do something else, right? Okay, maybe we do one last one. Let me try to figure out which one. I just go with the next one now. Okay, wait. I'll give you one more. Okay lah. This one lah. This one. Last one. What is this?
My life.
Multiple issues, yeah. Many issues,
Repeated
yeah.
issues.
Okay. Repeated issues, sure. Not quite what I'm looking for.
10 issues. You
10
actually counted.
issues.
Not bad, Hazard.
10 issues, okay, yeah, good. What is
Get-
how is another way to put 10 issues? You're almost there.
X issues.
The
Many
number 10 is
issues.
correct and the issues is correct, but if you put it together, what does it sound like?
10 tissues. Tennis shoes.
What?
Someone said tennis shoes?
Tennis shoes. Where is the tennis? Yes, tennis shoes is
Okay.
correct.
Really? Wow.
Yes. So if you put the words together, you got 10 issues here, and you put it together, it's tennis shoes, right? So if you play tennis and you enjoy that sport, that's fantastic. In fact, the British lady was quite young. I can't remember her name, but she won the US Open, right? So that's quite inspiring. Young people can do a lot of good things and can have a lot of good influence, and that can be you, right? I love actually one of the things that I was quite inspired by recently is something I heard a pro footballer actually say, right? And he said, Why not me? You see, he always asks that question to himself. Why not me? Right? And I think that's a fantastic question to ask ourselves every morning we wake up, right? Why not me? Why not I be the best? Why not I help my teacher? Or why not I serve my parents? Why not I come to L Club and find ways to learn and grow? Why not I invest in my own development, right? So there's a lot of things that can really come up when we ask the right questions. Why not me? Okay, enough of my rambling. So let's kind of debrief, right? So when we look at that whole sort of game, there's a lot of us. Some of us get it. Some of us took a whole bunch of different times to get it. Some of us didn't get it. So if you don't mind, just type in the chat box or raise your hand. Why do you think we get stuck? Right? So it's quite obvious that game was quite complicated or very hard thing. You have to look at it 10 times, only then we understand. Right? All of us, when I first did this, right, I know, because I do it now, I know the answer, right? But when I first did it, I was very much the same, even worse. Right? Some of it I couldn't even decipher, I couldn't even understand. And I'm a lot older, right? So I'm in my 30s. So it's no different, right? If you're old or young or whatever, all of us to some degree across different things all get stuck, right? Cuma kita orang ni tak kisah dia punya umur dan sebagainya, kita akan tersangkut ataupun menjadi stuck dalam situasi-situasi tertentu. So give me some responses in terms of why you think we all get stuck.
Oh, they mentioned forgetting to charge the phone, no GPS.
Okay, that's one reason we get stuck, huh? Forget your phone. Well, nowadays cannot live without the phone, I guess. We must have our phones with us. You know, our whole life is stuck. Because we are indecisive, yeah, okay, that's true. Sometimes we become indecisive. We're not quite sure how to respond to certain situations. Okay, limited comprehension. Sometimes we can't understand, right? We can't understand what's going on. If we don't understand how we're going to actually do anything about it. That's right, correct. Right? Mind freeze. Yeah, sometimes the things, the information, the situation is just too much. Our brains cannot handle it. We just don't know what to do, what to say, how to respond. It's like our whole body shut down, right? I mean, we have all experienced that. I've experienced that, not knowing what to do in a situation. Overthinking, right, is another one. If I do this, then this one will happen. If I do that, but then this one also will happen. But then no, actually that one will happen. Then how? Better don't do anything. Do anything or not do anything? Maybe not lah. Actually no lah, must do something lah. Right? So kita overthink, think too much. Sampai tak boleh buat apa-apa langsung. Pemikiran tu. Don't know what to do next. No clarity lah. No clarity. Don't know what to do. Fear. Right? So there's so many reasons. Trauma, right? Trauma also has an effect on all of us where it really stunts our ability to actually respond in difficult situations. Clueless. Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating and giving some answers and responses. Very important. And thank you for being present and engaging, right? So all these answers are fantastic. A lot of reasons as to why all of us get stuck. So that's why I thought it was important, right? Recognizing my own limitation, kelemahan diri saya sendiri, right? Tak kisah apa kita punya umur, kita semua dah jadi seorang, kadang-kadang boleh jadi stuck, right? So I think for us as young people, it's good to get a head start, right? To find a way. How do we get unstuck? So let me start with a story, a little bit of a story, right? So sometime actually earlier this year while I was working at home, right? Now I'm actually working from home because of MCO and COVID and so on. I was distracted by a dragonfly. My wife and I, so I'm married now, by the way, I'm married. My wife and I left our front door open for some reason. Usually we don't do that, but this one day we felt like, okay, we just leave it open, let the cool air come in and so on. And then suddenly this big giant dragonfly started came into our house from the front door. Now you must understand, right? I and my wife, actually, we don't like insects flying around. You know, we feel quite geli, or we don't know how to like handle, right? Very menyusahkan hidup lah, this dragonfly. Right? And then suddenly it masuk dalam kita punya rumah. So what we did, we try to chase it lah. We try to chase it, keluar lah kau, whatever. We find the fleur going here and there, so on and so forth. Right? But the dragonfly actually doesn't understand. He's stuck in some corner. He doesn't know what to do. Don't know how to get out. And he actually kept hitting hard against the clear glass window in our house. And our house there, we had a few windows side by side, right? So he went from one window, then went to the other window, knocking its head, expecting it to break the glass open, maybe, I don't know. But you see, the funny thing, right? if it only flew 1 or 2 feet away from that window, there was actually the open door. It can easily have flown out. But it was quite determined for whatever reason to fly through the glass. So what we did, we were so fed up, really don't know what to do. We picked up a broom, right? We tried to direct the guy, hey, keluar dari sini lah, ini pintu, jangan try don't go through the tingkap, it's not going to happen, right? You can't break through the window. So we try to gently tap it, point it nicely with the broom, do all sorts of things to try to get the dragonfly out. But the dragonfly, unfortunately, did not listen. And after some time, the poor fellow also got tired, he got fed up. We just sat on the on the sheer curtain, the white curtain. I just duduk sana, he just rested. And I felt I don't know because I'm not dragonfly, I cannot think like a dragonfly. I felt like he was in a quite helpless state. He also don't know what to do. He's banging his head against the window 10 times, cannot go anywhere, so he's stuck. Right? So it's obvious that the guy is tired, he's quite helpless, he felt quite stuck. But the question is, for us to consider, why was he stuck? And I think he's stuck because, when I think about it, right, he was not ready for change. He was not ready to change his direction. He's hitting his head 10 times, not going anywhere, but he didn't think, hey, maybe I should do something else. He's not ready. He was not ready to embrace the new path. He was not ready to explore new options. But then again, come on, we have to be fair lah. This one is an insect, dragonfly ni insect, kan dia mana boleh fikir macam kita orang, right? So insects only have instincts lah. They cannot function. They don't have a functioning brain. They're not able to think like me and you, right? But strangely, if we really think about it, and if we really look at our own lives and we reflect on our own lives and start being honest with ourselves, right? We see that sometimes we also behave like this one. We also behave in these ways when we get stuck. We rely on our past experience, we resist change, or we push back, we don't listen to other people, right? But the reality is actually all of us get stuck We all get stuck doing different things at different points of our lives. And so the question is now, how do we become unstuck? How do we get past this stuckness, so to speak, right? But I think just through the situation and the story about this dragonfly that came into my house, there's actually a lot of lessons that we can learn. So I just wanted to share today 3 helpful ways for all of us to get unstuck. The first is to see differently, right? To see differently. That means to see situations differently. There's an interesting definition, I'm sure all of you have heard this quite often, right, of insanity. It says insanity is doing the same things over and over again and then expecting a different result. And that was actually what the fly was doing, right? He was hitting the same spot in the window over and over again, expecting something else to happen. But actually, when we think about it more intentionally, bila kita fikir dengan teliti sikit, there's actually a difference between smart work and hard work. See, if we want different results, kita nak keputusan yang berbeza, we have to do things differently. Kita kena buat benda-benda yang berlainan daripada benda-benda yang kita buat sekarang. Kalau kita nak result yang berbeza daripada result kita pada hari ini That is what they call smart work. Hard work actually is also important, right? Because hard work helps us to endure. It helps us to persevere. It grows our character, right? It does a thing in us so that we can handle better situations or more situations in the future. But sometimes hard work has its limitation, right? Hard work ni kadang-kadang ada dia punya kelemahan. Because sometimes it can just cause us to do the same thing over and over again. We can just bang our head against the window over and over again, expecting something to change, but actually realizing nothing changes at all. So while hard work has its weaknesses, I think, my personal opinion, is that both is actually necessary, right? So I think the key here is we have to learn how to work hard to work smart, right? So how can we apply hard work in the area of working smart? And I think this is quite relevant for us when we think about the COVID pandemic. And I think for many of us, I don't know about you, but I think the pandemic has had effect on me personally, right? And all of us, or some of us here, have experience the difficulty of the pandemic in different ways. Schools are closed, tak boleh jumpa kawan, tak boleh keluar pergi makan mama, and all that kind of stuff, right? It's very difficult. How do you interact with people? We haven't even been able to have a L club, right? Secara physical, right? And some of us might also be feeling stuck because of all of this. Some of us may be saying, oh yeah, I'm waiting for the good old days to come back, right? But we don't know. We don't know. It may come back. Fantastic, awesome, let's go. But it may not come back. We don't know. And when we get stuck, why is that? We get stuck because sometimes we are unwilling to change. We are unwilling to see things differently because it's very uncomfortable actually, and it's nobody's fault lah. I mean, it's not to blame anybody, right? Even I experienced this. It gets very uncomfortable to look for new options, to look at things in a different way. Why? Because it challenges us, right? We are quite comfortable actually the way that we are, right? Why want to be so uncomfortable? Only lah, just sad lah. Cannot do anything lah, you know? But to actually become unstuck, we have to do something one. We have to be slightly uncomfortable. I just wanted to share a story with you that I came to know, right? About a barber in India, right? And he had to stop working in his barber shop because of the movement restrictions in that country at that time. And because his shop had to close and so on, what he decided to do, and he was allowed, right, under the Indian regulations and so on, to actually go to his client's house to give haircuts. So he said, okay lah, I'm going to go. I cannot sit here like this. I'm not going to let this pandemic really affect me or whatever. I'm going to do whatever I can lah. So he went into the homes, he put on his PPE gear, and he started cutting hairs and so on. And then he had a conversation with one of his clients. And he told his clients, funny enough, he said, actually, I'm making more money now than I ever did before. And he said, actually, not just I'm making more money, actually, I have a lot more freedom than I had before. Now I can manage my own time. I can figure out when I want to spend time with my family. I can make my own decisions for my own life. So he looked at the whole situation quite differently. He gave it a new meaning. So some of us might look at our situations and say, it's over. But others can look at the situation and say, what can I learn from this? How can I respond? What should I do next? And I think in today's world, one of the most important life skills, and this for all of us, young or old or whatever, it doesn't matter, right? I think one of the most important life skills for us, even as you are in sekolah menengah, you're going to go into university, you're going to pergi kerja and so on, right? One of the most important life skills is adaptability. Kebolehan untuk kita berubah mengikut situasi luaran. Kebolehan kita boleh mengubah secara pendalaman in our insights. How can we be adaptable? How can we become agile? Right? We started off dulu masa-masa dulu kita cakap pasal IQ, intelligence quotient, IQ. And then lepas IQ kita tengok EQ, emotional quotient. Macam mana kita boleh handle kita punya emosi dan sebagainya. Bagaimana kita berinteraksi dengan orang lain and all of that, right? But today we need AQ ataupun adaptability quotient, kebolehan kita untuk berubah berasaskan ataupun berdasarkan situasi-situasi. Kerana apa? Kerana dunia kita hari ini, kamu dah tahu sekarang dulu ada Facebook, dulu ada Friendster. Kamu mungkin tak tahulah Friendster ya. Last time had Friendster, and then got Facebook, then got Instagram, now got TikTok. Tomorrow I don't know what we'll have, but I mean it's moving very fast lah. Right? Everything is moving very fast. You know, one of the things that I really like, a quote that I came across, is from Charles Darwin. And he said this. Wait, let me move my screen. He said this. Right? He said, it is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the most responsive to change. Okay, the quote on the bottom is wrong, like Charles Darwin, right? So bukan seorang yang kuat yang boleh survive. Right? Bukan orang yang paling pandai sekali yang boleh survive, tapi seorang itu yang boleh berubah mengikut situasi adalah seorang yang akan berjaya, yang boleh survive pada masa akan datang. Right? So that's one. Right? In order to get stuck, we need to grow in our ability to see things differently. All right, number 2. Number two is we need to grow in our ability to think differently. Now, okay, let's go back to the dragonfly story lah, kan? Dragonfly punya story. After trying a few times, right, the dragonfly got tired. It gave up. It sat on the sheer curtain, didn't know what to do. And what's crazy about that is actually when it was banging its head against the glass, right, it can actually see what is outside because the glass is transparent, right? He's banging the head. He can see what's outside there, right? He knows that, oh, that's my freedom, right? I can see the beautiful trees, whatever is outside, right? But he couldn't, but the glass was actually what was stopping the dragonfly from embracing ataupun memeluk reality itu. And I think in many ways, ini boleh menjadi kita punya situasi juga. A lot of us can see the future, right? We can have a very clear vision. Okay, I nak jadi seorang doktor, I nak jadi seorang pilot, I nak jadi seorang tukang masak, right? Or saya nak jadi seorang yang kerja di hospital sebagai jururawat, right? We can have a clear path, ada plan, semua everything fantastic. Okay, habis PSR, kita buat kita punya PT3, I don't know got PT3 or not lah anymore, but kita buat kita punya SPM, okay, masuk matrikulasi or we go to university, whatever lah. We have all these plans, right? But then when we face the first obstacle, we don't know what to do. We become frazzled, we lose sight, right? We become disheartened. Sometimes we lose hope, we give up. I don't know about you guys, but growing up, I still also even today, sometimes like watching boxing. And back in the day, my favorite boxer was Mike Tyson because I felt like I had just power punch lah. You know, he was full of energy, and he's so small, sometimes very short compared to the opponent. Also, he can just knock the person out, right? And he said this that I thought was very important. He says everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Right? We can have all the plans in the world. Kita ada vision ni, ada ni, ada plan ni, kita buat macam ni. Tapi bila kita jalan dalam jalan itu dan tiba-tiba ada satu masalah ataupun barrier that we face, sometimes we get lost. And I say this not to sort of minimize the issue lah. I'm just saying this because it's a reality for all of us. Saya pun sama. Abang Joel pun sama. Abang Benjamin pun sama. Abang Victor pun sama. Right?
Okay.
Tapi kadang-kadang, sorry. Oh, ada sama kita tapi. Tapi kadang-kadang barrier ni, halangan ini is actually our own limiting beliefs. Not always lah. Sometimes situasi tu memang susah, right? We understand. But kadang-kadang kita punya limiting beliefs ni, or the barrier ni is our own limiting beliefs. We say to ourselves, cannot lah. Surely not me lah. Other people are better. Someone else will do it lah. Actually, really me No way, cannot be. Must be Joel, or must be Benjamin, or must be Amanda, must be somebody else. Cannot be me one. They are all very good. What for I do? No need lah. They do lah. And this is something that actually psychologists call learned helplessness. Learned helplessness, right? It's when we start to learn and to believe the lies that we tell ourselves, the narrative that we tell ourselves, the cerita that we tell ourselves, kita tak boleh lah. So kita pun mula-mula percaya, memang lah saya tak boleh. Dia lagi pandai lah, aku tak boleh buat lah. Kau pun start to percaya, memang lah, aku pun tak boleh, aku tak pandai, dia boleh buat. That is called learned helplessness. Right? You feel helpless because you learn it, you believe it, you internalize it, and that becomes the central story, right, of our lives. But there's actually a way to get out of this state. Right? And one of the ways to do that is to try out new things, to be brave, right? To put ourselves in different or uncomfortable situations, to speak out sometimes when we feel like we should remain quiet. And the other way to do this is also to surround ourselves with people who actually love us, who are willing to challenge us, to care for us even if we fail. And it takes a lot of effort and perseverance. Right? We have to actually be very patient with ourselves. We take one step at a time, place one foot after the other foot, and adjust our methods along the way. But we all need support. Kadang-kadang, I think sometimes people will say, why you need so many people to support you? You cannot do on your own. Actually, I will tell them, you're right. I cannot do it on my own. I actually need Abang Joel. I actually need Abang Benjamin. I need Abang Victor. Pasal diorang inilah yang boleh mengeluarkan bakat-bakat saya. Diorang inilah yang boleh memberi saya ilham dalam masa yang saya tak boleh fikir. Saya perlukan orang-orang yang kisah tentang hidup saya dan akan membantu saya dalam masa yang susah. Right? And we are familiar with this when we think of the story of Thomas Edison. I'm sure you all have learned this in your Leaderonomics clubs and so on, right? He tried 10,000 times, 10,000 kali dia cuba ya Thomas Edison untuk mencipta light bulb ataupun lampu suluh, light lah. And when he was asked about his failures, bila orang tanya ya, kenapa kau ni gagal 9,999 kali? You know what he said? He said, oh well, I learned 9,999 ways how not to invent the light bulb. Right? So he looked at his failure, sebenarnya dia tengok dia punya kegagalan ni sebagai langkah untuk dia, langkah penting lah ya, untuk dia mencapai matlamat dia. So same for us, right? When we fail, when we don't do things right, when we tak jadi apa yang kita nak buat, when we face obstacles, when we are pushed back 2 steps and when we took 1 step and 5 steps back, we just have to believe in our hearts that, okay, that's fine. I have people around me that I can talk to. Let me try something different. I need to go through this. I need to go through this so that I can become a better person. And that's all really about having the right mindset. Right? And having the right mindset and the right attitude really starts with our thinking. Before we begin, we must first believe. Right? Kita kena percaya yang benda yang kita nak capai itu boleh dicapai. I love Henry Ford and what he said, right? This is Henry Ford's quote. He says, whether you think you can or cannot, you are absolutely right. Kalau kamu fikir kamu boleh, atau kamu fikir kamu tak boleh, memang betul. Right? So if you believe that I can, oh, fantastic, very good. Of course you're right. But if you believe I cannot, that person's job lah, not my job. Actually, you're also correct because you won't do, and somebody else will do it lah. You're also right. Right? But you lose out on the opportunity. We all will lose out on the opportunity, right? If I choose not to do something that I could have done. All right, lastly, which is the last point now. The third point is really, we looked at it to, number 1 was to see differently. Number 2 was to think differently. Now the third point is to, having seen and thought already, to act differently. Right? We now must act differently. So going back to the story of the dragonfly again, right? What we were trying to do was really trying to redirect the fly with the broom. Hey, go lah this way. Hey, don't bang your head against the window, wasting your time, right? Just go this way. This way is the way to go. But for whatever reason, the dragonfly didn't really get the point. So the lesson here is when we get stuck, one way to actually get unstuck is actually to listen. Listen actively. Surround ourselves with other people. Invite other people yang ada pandangan yang berbeza daripada kita. Our parents, our teachers, our club coaches. And once you've listened already, jangan setakat listen je lah. You have to act. All of us have to act. Kita kena mengambil langkah ke hadapan supaya kita boleh menjadi unstuck daripada situasi yang stuckkan kita tu. Right? So, we all see that getting stuck actually is nothing new. Right? Ever since humans have roamed the earth, everyone to some degree has gotten stuck. And hari ni, today there's not a lack of resources at all. Right? We have our friends, kita ada kawan-kawan, kita ada parents, kita ada teacher, ada coaches, ada buku-buku yang kita boleh baca, kita ada minda kita sendiri untuk kita buat keputusan. Everything that we have to make a decision or get unstuck, we have already been given. But it's actually all really dependent on our willingness to listen and to act accordingly. There's so many resources lah, but actually the key is action. We cannot just stop at listening and then, drowning ourselves with all the other interaction. Tak nak fikir ada masalah ni, okay lah, aku nak main Facebook, okay lah, aku nak main Mobile Legends. Fantastic, main. main Facebook, main Mobile Legends, tak ada masalah, right? Do that, have a good time, right? Life is short, but at the same time, don't do that at the expense of your own personal development, your own personal growth. Don't use that as an instrument to drown yourself in distraction so that you don't have to face the reality of what's going on inside. Right? We have to be bold. We have to be courageous. We have to act. Though it be hard, but the result will come over time, the result that we desire. Right, so just to kind of summarize, when you are stuck, right, always remember CTA. See differently, of course the spelling salah lah. Bahasa Inggeris saya tak bagi sangat, so dapat, tak ingat apa dapat B but see differently, think differently, and act differently, right? CTA. And actually when you take the CTA as an abbreviation, yeah, the perkataan singkat CTA tu, it's actually call to action. It's another way to think about it, right? See differently, think differently, act differently. So every time we get unstuck, think about, hey, what is my call to action? What's my call to action? What do I need to do? I need to see differently. I need to think differently. I need to act differently. Now, let me just conclude with a closing story before we go to question and answer and maybe even do some journaling together. I just wanted to share a story of a boy and his grandpa. Okay, I don't know about you guys and what your childhoods were like when you were smaller, like this boy, right? But in some of our homes, right, the parents let their kids beat them on in games. And they do this with good intentions. They want to build their children up. They want to build their self-esteem, give them self-assurance and so on. And this is all good and well, right? But in this boy's home, his family did not let him do that. He always lost as a child when he was smaller. And in fact, his grandpa, which is his dad's dad, always raced him on foot. So buat racing lumba lari right? On his birthday. Every year his birthday, his grandpa will lumba lari dengan dia. And every year, the grandpa will beat him. Not because the boy was slow, but actually his grandpa was so much bigger and he was very fast, right? That's the reality again. But what was interesting that every time that the grandpa would beat the boy at lumba lari, or in any game that they used to play, he always would laugh. And he said this, he said, I beat you, but time is in your favor. You say what? I beat you, but time is in your favor. Now, one day, I think the boy was about 13 years old or something, and again, his birthday came. So again, he raised his grandpa on his birthday, right? That's it. This is their ritual, it's what they do every year, right? And at this particular year, his grandpa slipped a bit in the race. At this point, he was about 60 years old or something. You know, grandma got worried. Oh gosh, she got very fearful. Patah ni, patah tu, right? But he slipped a little bit, I didn't fall, right? And as he slipped, he was coming up the hill. And the boy, because he was going quite fast and didn't slip, was able to beat the grandpa and finish the race number 1. The boy won at 13 years old or 13 years of age. But to his surprise, right, his grandpa didn't get mad. He didn't get angry. Instead, he thought it was like the best thing ever. It was like he wanted to throw another party. He said, see, I told you, time is in your favor. You see, the grandpa recognized that the whole concept of growth. He understood that growth actually takes time. To see things differently takes time. To think differently takes time. To act differently takes time. But he also recognized that there comes a time, right, when all of us will grow old all of us will start deteriorating, our bodies all will start aching one day. I also know I'm going to face it some point. All of us, we cannot run away. I mean, you're young, don't have to think about it yet, right? Which is good. You make the best of your youth now, today. Right? But for people that are older, that have gone through a lot more life, for grandpas and parents and so on, the key, they understand, the key for the grandpa here in this story was he understand that he was to invest in the young generation. He actually took the time to go raise the boy every year, play games with the boy, stood with the boy, walk with the boy, support the boy. He understood that, okay, maybe I have all the experience in the world, I have more experience than him, But one day it's all going to go away. So I better give it to somebody, right? So that somebody can be better, can be helped. They will know how to handle the situation. And the reality is, I think when we look at this story and we try to translate it to our own situations today, like when we think about L Club and all of us being here, I think all of you here are like the young boy, whether you're a boy or a girl, doesn't matter, right? All of us, yourselves being young, are like the young boy. We must all be patient with ourselves. We must seek opportunities to learn, opportunities to grow. And we must slowly try to become comfortable with the uncomfortable, to become easy with the uneasy. Because that's how growth happens. That is having a growth mindset. But we must also have that grandpa. And that grandpa actually is who? Is your parents. If it's not your parents, it's your teacher. If it's not your teacher, it's your Leaderonomics Club coach. And these people, your parents, your teacher, your Leaderonomics coach, they understand that while they have already learned a little more in life, every day they learn one day will fade away one. So they try really hard to set up these sessions for you all, to guide you all, to help you all make the right decisions, to pass on the knowledge that they have gained to the next generation. And I think as young people, as you seek to understand all of this, you internalize all of this, you walk in all of this, truly, right? Though you might lose some battles today, right? You might get stuck today, I don't know what to do, pening kepala, whatever, don't know, right? You might be unsure. But if you have this mindset and you understand, I need these people, how can I grow? What do I need to do next? And you ask the hard questions. It might be uncomfortable, but you do it anyway. I'm very certain, I think all of us are very certain that you will certainly win, right? You will achieve. You will become unstuck from the stuck state, and you will actually see the other side. So friends, time is actually in your favor. Your coaches, your parents, your teachers are on your side. So always take heart, be strengthened, run the race of life with endurance. Why? Because victory awaits you on the other side. All right, so that's essentially all from my sharing today. I am open to take questions or answer any things or comment on anything that you would like me to. Joel, I don't know if this is the right time, but I guess you can lead it from here.
Yes, can. I think it's. I just want to take this opportunity to really thank Gurpreet. I think that was awesome. I learned a lot, even myself, because Gurpreet did mention that we are all not perfect and we are all learning. And thank you for that. I've written so much notes, and I hope as I shared the notes with you guys, everyone here, you guys are also writing it down. So I think we have a first question from Faza. He's asking whether the grandpa story is actually a true story, Gurpreet.
I'm not too sure, who is this? Sorry, I can't see.
Fazad.
Oh, Farzad. Yeah, Farzad. Good question. Thank you for asking. I'm not quite sure whether it's true or not, but it's something that I heard in a podcast I was listening to, and someone was sharing the story. And I just felt like, wow, I mean, that was a very impactful story, very important story to keep to myself, right? It really taught me a really good lesson. So I felt it was important
Okay.
to share it today. So I don't know.
Right.
The answer is I don't know.
But Faza, I think you can go and find out too if you want to, you know. You can find anything online anyways. So I think there's another question from Aiden earlier on. He actually asked on your second point about thinking differently, right? When you were talking about thinking differently, we need to be we need to speak out when we feel like we need to be quiet. Does that also apply, or can it be expressed politically? Correct me if I'm wrong, Aiden.
Okay, is that? Oh, can it be applied politically?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good question. Interesting, quite complex, I suppose. I think whenever we want to express our thoughts, I think we must qualify it in the sense that, number one, is it helpful? Right? Is it helpful? Is it going to build somebody up, or is it going to tear somebody down? Right? And does it take different perspectives into consideration. Because I think all of us sometimes tend to have a certain perspective, but we are not informed of the other side of things and so on. But I think if you've done your due diligence and you communicate it in a way that is respectful, that is loving, that is humble, that is open to different feedback, then I think it's fine to share your opinion, right? Because opinions are opinions, it's not hard truth or reality, right? And I think if you have that openness to sort of receive even as you give, and that ability to mold and be flexible as we talked about, I think you don't run the risk of being stuck. I think if we share opinions, whether it's political or not, being not open to hearing somebody else or being not flexible ourselves, that's when I think we get ourselves in trouble. So the qualifiers for me is it helpful? Am I willing to get feedback? And am I willing to consider other opinions before or have I done my due diligence before I say something? Yeah.
Thank you so much. Aiden, I hope that answers your question. There are no other questions down here at the moment, but please feel free to type in the chat, or everyone just suddenly stunned and amazed by your sharing. But I think we have a question at the start, way early before you even started sharing, right? There was one question, Nur Iman, I don't think she's here anymore, but I think it's a good question. I'll read in Malay first. Saya ada satu soalan. Saya selalu tolong mak buat kerja rumah, okay, housework and all that. Tapi mak marah saya sebab saya buat macam tak berapa bersih. Okay, mom scold me because it wasn't that clean, right? So dalam hati saya cakap, saya sudah tolong pun dah cukup bagus dah. In my heart, I already said that if it's good enough that I helped already, right? So how do I tackle this issue? How do I tackle this problem? Because it's almost every day, she mentioned, it's almost every day that I face this issue.
Yeah, that's a really difficult one to address. What was her name, sorry?
Nur Iman. She's not here at the moment.
No, okay, she's not here. Okay. Anyways, yeah, that's a difficult one to address. Recognizing that there's no perfect answer to this, right? I think when it comes to doing chores and trying to serve someone, I think what is important is to do it with all your heart, right? When we do something for somebody else, we can never control how somebody else responds to us as a result, right? But we are not doing it for a response. We are doing it because it is simply the right thing to do. I must serve my parents. It's a way I express love to my parents, and I must do it well. Right? I think as long as we have that motivation and that intention, now, of course, my mom can still not be happy, right? And then my next thing will do to try to understand where she's coming from. Why is it not happy? Is it not good enough or whatever, right? I try to have that conversation to engage because I value that relationship. I want to know so that I can do a better job, because the reason I'm doing what I'm doing is because I love my mom. So if she's not happy, then I want to find out. But understandably, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. That's maybe too ideal and unrealistic. I don't know. Everybody's home situation is different, right? So I don't want to speak too much into all of this. But for me, right, if I'm in that situation and I've done my best and I've put my best foot forward and someone doesn't appreciate my work, I think I find a lot of comfort in just knowing that I did my best. In knowing that actually my heart was in the right place. I do this because I love someone and I want to serve them well. And I think there is something to be said when we do things from that place that gives us a comfort that doing things from a different perspective, where I'm trying to do it because I want someone to say thank you to me, can never afford to give me. Right? So I think check our own motivations. If you're doing things from the right place and someone not happy, value that relationship enough to ask the question. And if still we don't get the answers and nobody wants to, still people are upset, then find comfort, right, in the fact that, hey, I'm doing the best that I can. And sometimes the best that I can is this much because I've got so many other things going on. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to look full tank all the time, right? Yeah, if you do the best that you can, I think you can never go wrong. And we have to build ourselves and our hearts in a way that is enough, right? And find contentment and joy and satisfaction in that. Maybe I'm saying too much here, but that's my point of view, lah. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense.
Wow, I think I agree with you, Gurpreet, on that one specifically. Before we actually end, I think really agree with you when you say that. I think even in our daily lives, even myself personally, there are times that I actually feel like that. But I think the points that you mentioned, Gurpreet, the 3 points: seeing things differently, thinking differently, and even acting differently, actually helps us even in that problem. Like if my mom really actually keeps complaining all that, I think I had to correct me if I'm wrong, just to see things differently. Why she's saying that is still dirty, right?
Yeah, correct. Ask her the question, lah. Yeah.
Correct. Thank you. And we
Yeah,
have
thanks,
a
Joel. I
question.
think that was fantastic. I think you linked it up to what I talked about earlier. So yeah, fantastic. Thanks for listening. So I know you're listening. That's great.
Okay, I think we
Yeah.
have a last question from Mugen. If there's any other questions, feel free to leave in the chat as
Yeah.
well. But Mugen has a question. So
Yeah.
is it good to have a small amount of good habit friends? Wow. Okay. Is it good to have a small amount of good habit friends, right? Friends with good habits, or a large amount, huge amount of friends that has combined of good and bad habits? Wow.
Wow, that's a very interesting question. I never had that question asked before. I mean, I don't know, lah. I don't think I can speak specifically into this question, but I think I can just base it off my own experience, lah, right? And my own experience is that generally, to be good friends, for me, at least, right, implies a small group, because I cannot be good friends with everybody, right? I think there's a limitation. I am only one person. I only have so much time. I only have so much space. I only have so much capacity. So to really be good friends is to really commune or to know somebody, right? Depends on what we mean by good friends, lah, right? For me, to be good friends is really to know somebody, to know their in and out, to know their strengths and weaknesses, to know what brings them joy, what brings them tears, right? Those are good friends. And for me personally, I don't see that as being a pool of 10 people, or even more than that. I look at that as one hand, lah. So I think even if you have 2, 3, 4 good friends, that's enough to sustain you for a lifetime already. Personally, lah, because I think the reality, one of the books that I read really talked about the importance of friendship. Because actually, when you think about it, right, your good friends, say, for example, me, Joel, and Ben and Victor are good friends, right? Not that we are not, lah, right? We are good friends, we are friends, lah, right? Okay, so 4 people, right? When I talk to Joel, Joel will bring out an aspect of me that Victor cannot bring out, that Ben cannot bring out. Only Joel can bring out one, right? And Victor will bring out an aspect of me that Joel, if he try 10 times, you cannot bring out one. He cannot bring out this side of me. Ben also cannot. And Ben also will do the same. So actually, when we have good friends where we share our lives, we give of ourselves, we serve one another, we love one another, we care for one another, we actually seek the interest of our friends. We cannot do that with a lot of people because we are limited, we are finite beings, right? But when we have that group, you realize that aspects of you only come out when that person is around. And you become a bit more wholesome because you have those close relationships. But from my perspective, it's good to have, absolutely good to have good friends. This is my opinion. I don't think it's a truth statement. But from my experience, it's a smaller group helps. Bigger groups, generally, you can't go so deep. So invest in the right relationships. Of course, you want good people that influence you well. And be very careful and mindful in terms of who you choose to draw close.
All right, that's all for tonight. Thank you and good night.
See you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Gurpreet.
Good